So there's more and more information out there that we are moving from this familiar 3D world of duality, conflict, scarcity, destruction, disease, and artificial tech to a new world where there's more unity, harmony, abundance, creativity, health, and consciousness tech. Some would call that a 5D world. It's the prophesized 1,000 years of peace, also known as the Golden Age. Hi, I'm Carla Rieger, and this is the Golden Age Timeline podcast. Now, by consciousness tech, it's the idea that anything a computer or smartphone can do, we can just do with our own minds, whether it's telepathic communication, mathematical calculations, measuring and monitoring things, accessing all manner of information. Now, this may or may not be a new concept for you, but chances are if you're listening to this, it's familiar. Many people are waking up old memories, knowing this is exactly what's happening, and they've been waiting their whole life for this, perhaps several lives. I know that's true for me. The understandings are bubbling to the surface. It's like a veil is coming down, or maybe it's more like when you slowly wake up from a dream and you were so immersed in it, you forgot where you are. And then remember, oh yes, I'm in my bed, the one I crawled into last night, I'm living in this particular home, and all the details of your life come back to you. It's like that, only happening more slowly for a lot of people, remembering they came here to experience and perhaps help with the transition from the 3D to the 5D world. Now, many people interested in these kinds of topics often wondered throughout their lives that age-old question, why are we here? What's all this for? The notion that life here on earth is a school where you go to learn lessons at the soul level, that always resonated the most with me. Now, maybe you buy into that idea too, maybe not. I used to not buy into that idea. I lived by the worldview that you have one life, there's no eternal benevolent source guiding us, that everything is random, that truth is simply a subjective, malleable commodity, that everything we experience in this world just came out of nowhere and will disappear again into nowhere for no reason. And when I had that worldview, I found life very hard to process. It was depressing to me. When I shifted to the worldview or philosophy that you have many lives here on this earth, and not just here, but in other dimensions and realities, that there is an eternal benevolent source guiding us, that everything is meaningful, that there is subjective truth, but there is also a universal truth that we can use to guide us, that everything we experience in this world has intelligent design behind it and was divinely inspired, I could much more easily process and understand my life, the lives of others, and this world in general. It suddenly all made sense, and I knew it to be true in the core of my being. Now, I realize some people think that's a delusional point of view. And I certainly used to roll my eyes at people who thought like that. Yet now I see that everyone just has to find their own truth on that. For me, that worldview allows me to find joy, meaning, and fulfillment in this life, whereas the old worldview simply didn't. So I really like this idea that Earth was not the only school you have lived through, not the only game in town, that there were other planets and other dimensions, timelines, realities, densities, all happening at once, where you could go and explore, like landing in a massive theme park with many rides. So many of us have done many things in many unbelievable places as many different kinds of beings. Maybe you were a light being living in a higher dimensional state of bliss. Then you decided to come into the lower earth density with all the polarity and negativity. And some of those higher dimensional beings maybe even volunteered to come help humanity and the earth at this time as we go through a massive shift. Some people call these people star seeds or teaching assistants. It's like when you're in university, more advanced students come to help the regular students. This gives them practice at one day becoming a teacher or a professor by being a TA. The notion of the starseed could be seen a bit like that. Most people interested in this kind of topic are probably starseeds. They volunteered to come help humanity in the earth make this shift at this time, and especially since the 1950s, many intuitives say more and more starseeds have been born here. This tactic of being born here circumnavigates the prime directive or the law of non-intervention that higher dimensional beings must live under. It states you cannot interfere with a developing civilization like what's been happening on Earth. But because the Earth population has gotten stuck along the way to ascension, the higher dimensional beings have decided to intervene by sending volunteer souls to be born and raised here. That way, their energy, vibration, and frequency can positively affect the whole of humanity and the Earth herself. It's certainly not an easy assignment. Most starseeds come from realities where it's far more positive, harmonious, easy, abundant, and so they must experience the harshness of being without a lot of that here. They come in with amnesia. In other words, they've lost their memories about where they came from and experience what it's like to be living on the surface of the earth at this time and all its challenges. As we get closer to the time of ascension, more and more of them start to remember their mission, where they came from. For some people, it comes back slowly, bit by bit. For others, it comes back quickly or all at once. Starseeds have supposedly moved from lower dimensions to higher dimensions before on other worlds, having volunteered on this kind of assignment before, so they know the process. Some of them become teachers, coaches, content providers, but others do not. Their energy, vibration, and frequency are enough to help create the change. People pick up subconsciously by osmosis just by being in their vicinity, the kind of energy, vibration, and frequency needed to go to the next dimension. For example, one of the big keys to moving from a lower dimension like 3D to a higher one like 5D is to let go of bad karma, or another way of thinking about that is negative memories that you still loop on or still lay lodged in your subconscious, limiting you. Old hurts, old wounds, old traumas can stay stuck in your body-mind system, in the fascia, tissues, muscles, ligaments, brain cells, heart cells, gut cells, long-term memory banks. Most of us have a lot of these, and most of us are not even aware of the extent of it all. The idea is to bring them forward consciously, even if you're not sure what they're all about in the moment, so you can make a conscious intention to learn from the situation, then forgive yourself and others and let it all go. One way to do that is to plan on doing one a day. Some people do that through what's called a cord removal process. You simply think of someone or some situation that still feels negative to you, or that you still have an attachment to, and imagine seeing it like a cord between you and that person or situation, like a breakup you never got over, or a place you used to live that you miss, or a time in your life that you miss, or that time you got fired from that job, or that time someone did something manipulative that harmed you. All those kinds of things. Now take some scissors in your mind's eye and cut the cord. See the cut cord ends pulled out from you and from them, and imagine throwing them into a fire of purification. Imagine the whole situation burning up until it all turns to ash, going back to neutrality, charged with neither positivity or negativity. The ashes go back to the ground for recycling. Going back to 0 point is another way of saying it. It's the idea that everything that happened to you in this life was simply there for your learning. So as you cut the cord away, just choose to learn whatever you were meant to learn. Even if you're not sure what it is in the moment, just your willing intention will help it happen and will help the cords not reattach, because the experience served its purpose to teach you something at the soul level. So at the soul level, you can now let it go. So your imagination, your intention, and your willpower are three massively powerful tools. We've been taught to believe that these kinds of things are not powerful, but that's simply not true, and it's a way to disempower people by letting them believe that. Simple exercises like this actually make a huge difference. Now, if you're doing one every day, after a while you will run out of things that are in your short-term memory, things you still remember. So it's helpful to have a system for finding things in the subconscious. For example, some people use a pendulum or muscle checking. I use both. But here's an example of how it might look. Muscle checking means asking muscles of your body to answer a question yes or no, or true or false. It's the idea that the body stores truths, things from your past, things in the subconscious mind, needs and wants of the mental, emotional, physical body. There are plenty of videos online about how to use a pendulum or muscle checking. But I'll give you a brief example if you're unfamiliar. So when I use muscle checking, I just check the deltoid muscle in the shoulder by pressing down on one arm. If the muscle stays strong, it's true or yes. If it goes weak, it's false or no, depending on how I stated the question. With the pendulum, you can use a necklace or anything on a chain that has a weight to it and intend for up and down to be a yes or true and back and forth to be a no or false, again, depending on how you ask the question. Then you just play 20 questions. For example, true or false, there is a cord to remove today. True. It's from my childhood. True or false? False. It's from my teens. True or false? False. It's from my 20s. False. It's from my 30s. True. Okay. So then I just muscle check through the ages 30, 31, 32, 33, and so on until I get to 36, and I get a yes or a strong arm. Then I'm asking, this is a cord with a person. Yes. It's male. No. Female. Yes. So it's a female that I need to remove a cord from when I was 36. Then I go through the names of different people I remember from that time in my life until I get a yes. Sometimes the person's face just appears to me, so that's my intuition getting involved in the process. And even if you don't remember their name, but you pull up an image of their face, you can muscle check true or false. That's the person. You might not even need to know what it's about. It's just that there still is some kind of karmic attachment there that needs to be neutralized, just let go of, so you can go back to 0 point. It only takes a few minutes. It's like disentangling yourself from this 3D world piece by piece. So then I just imagine that cord burning up in a fire of purification and sending the ash back to the earth for recycling, going back to neutrality. With some people and situations, you might need to do it several times at several layers. If it was a heavy situation, you might need to really be willing to learn something you weren't open to learning before, because anytime we end up feeling like a victim in a situation and staying feeling like a victim, there's usually something uncomfortable to face about yourself, perhaps about how you helped create the situation. I know in some situations that might be hard to see, and it might be you paying back karma from another life, where you were the perpetrator and now you need to experience being the victim, so you learn at the soul level not to perpetrate in that way again. It builds empathy. Then there are those situations in this life where you did perpetrate harm in some way, big or small, something out of integrity. Maybe you did it purposely, or maybe it was just an accident or done out of ignorance or insecurity or fear on your part. But regardless, someone was harmed who didn't deserve it. If there was something like that you did that harmed another, it takes quite a bit of courage and humility to admit it, and a lot of self-love to still forgive yourself. But just remember that self-hate, judgment towards yourself will keep you in 3D as well. All you need is the intention to learn from the situation. Even if you're not sure what the learning is just yet, the willingness begins the process of cord removal, forgiveness of self and others. Try it one time and see how it feels, and adapt it using your own inner wisdom to get it working for you. There are things I used to get really triggered by just remembering them. Things that happened 10 years ago, 15 years ago, still lingering in the back of my mind. I think about it and I'd almost re-wound myself by running the whole scenario through my mind again. But after doing these cord removals and opening my heart to the learning, being willing to learn, even if I didn't know what it was just yet, I actually would feel neutral about the situation or even grateful for some of those situations, because often challenges, harsh situations almost always come with a gift, an upside, something powerful you could learn or did learn, some way you grew or could grow, if you choose, some way you became a better person or will become a better person if you're willing. And if you're not there yet, this cord removal process will help you get there. Some people say they can't do this letting go, forgiving self and others because it would be condoning bad behavior. But it's very important to make this distinction. You're not hurting the other person by holding on to negative feelings about them. They may not even have any idea how you feel, or they don't care, or they passed away. So in the end, it's only hurting you. And if you were the perpetrator, you're not stopping yourself from further bad behavior by constantly judging yourself. In some ways, you're reinforcing bad behavior. Thousands of studies show that people who commit crimes towards others or act in selfish ways have very low self-esteem compared to those who don't do those kinds of things. Now, sometimes it is difficult to do face-to-face with a person, either because they don't want to, you can't find them, or they've died. But the good news is that you don't have to face the person to ask for forgiveness and to forgive them. You can do it mentally, emotionally within yourself. It's the idea that all our connections, memories, and interactions with people are in some ways part of us. By healing it within, it often can have a powerful effect on others. For example, I remember going through a tough breakup when I was young. We weren't speaking to each other. He was asking our mutual friends to choose sides. We were both in blame mode, blaming the other person for why things went wrong. If we saw each other for any reason, it was very negative interaction. Then I read a book on forgiveness and decided it might serve me to do this because the whole thing was stressing me out, causing me to have a bad night's sleep, keeping me from being open to other relationships. Feeling bitter and resentful is hard on a person's mental, emotional, and physical health. So the instructions were to make a list of everything I learned from the relationship and the breakup, or could learn if I opened my heart and mind to it. Things started occurring to me, like how I'd helped create the issues, and it wasn't just him. I made a list of the good aspects of the relationship and felt my appreciation for it all. And I listed all the aspects of the relationship that I'd labeled bad and felt appreciation for what I learned. Then it was easier to forgive him and myself. Now, I had to do this a number of times before the charge of the situation dissipated, but at a certain point, the whole thing felt neutral to me. Soon after, I bumped into him. He'd totally changed his attitude towards me. No negativity, just neutral, pleasant interaction. He hadn't read a book or done a workshop or seen a therapist. It's just that he felt it had shifted for him somehow. Interesting phenomenon, hey? You can try that yourself with someone you still have negative thoughts about. Again, this doesn't condone bad behavior on their part, but it frees you and perhaps helps them learn and grow too, as we are all connected. And when you're doing the cord removal process, just picture the person in your mind as you do it. That's all you need. Remove the cord, burn it up until it's ash, let it go. Ask for the learning, then send your forgiveness to them and also to yourself. Now, often people can't forgive another because once they do, they sense they will have to look and see where they helped contribute to the issue, and that's not something they're willing to take responsibility for. But there's so much freedom in that. It's painful at first, but it's like ripping off a Band-Aid that needs to be replaced. Once it's done, you're home free. It begins to change your energy, vibration, and frequency from 3D to 5D, and makes you less likely to attract a similar kind of issue into your life again. Now, one thing about forgiving yourself, it might be hard to see where you were at fault. You just feel like a victim of the whole thing. But consider this. As I said, it could be karma coming back from a previous lifetime to be resolved, and it could be a subconscious message you put out. I had a friend when I was younger, and when we were both single, we'd go to an event and be meeting different people. Almost every time she became attracted to a man who was already in a relationship with someone but wasn't telling her about it. She'd get involved and then find out later and be heartbroken or end up in some kind of horrible love triangle. One day she said, "Why does that never happen to you or to our other friends, just to me? It must be something subconscious in me." And she decided to explore it, and sure enough, it was a fear of long-term commitment, and subconsciously she could just pick up on the perfect potential person to date who would not be available. I'm sure you've heard stories like that. As soon as she became aware of it, she could shift it. Until then, she just felt like a victim. Then she could forgive herself because this wiser, higher self within sees that she's willing to learn her lesson. Then it's much easier to release and let it go, and most likely will help a person get ready for the ascension process. The other thing that seems to be important is to let go of things you've been trained to be afraid of. I say trained because I think if certain influences weren't in our lives, we wouldn't be worrying so much or assuming bad things are going to happen. It's like the media, friends, groups we're part of seem to fearmonger on certain kinds of things, even more so these days. If you really think about it, most of the time, what we fear never happens anyway, but the fear and other negative emotions are there to be processed and transformed, not looped on. In resisting them, they persist. So it's like feel it, see what caused it, use your discernment to see if it's valid. If it is, do something constructive about it, if possible. If it's not valid, let it go. And where possible, avoid situations that seem to bring up bad emotions that aren't constructive, like media, shows, certain people or situations. For example, I stopped watching mainstream media, horror shows, violent shows, and let go of spending too much time with people who seemed addicted to negativity or being in a crowded place during rush hour, that kind of thing. Some say we are all being tested now more than ever to do these things. Process the dark emotions, let them go, rise up. And of course, each one of us is having our own individual test, and some won't pass the tests, and that's okay. Each soul is given the choice, and if they are not moving and evolving, it's because they're choosing not to, and they will move at the soul level into another place of their choice, and it's all right because it's only a game. So if you're attracted to moving from 3D to 5D, chances are you're interested in letting go of the old, of resolving the negative karma. And it's not that the 5D Earth is the perfect place either. There would be other kinds of lessons, but not the intense ones we're used to on this 3D Earth. So I get a lot of my information by a combination of gnosis, direct downloads from my higher wisdom, and research, maybe like you. I always check the research I get with my inner wisdom, inner discernment. I certainly don't believe everything I hear, nor should anyone. My inner discernment is a work in progress, like everyone's. It doesn't mean it's 100% correct, as we're all living in an environment that's like a house of mirrors, full of false illusions, but I double, triple, quadruple check at different times, making sure I'm well shielded when I ask. And by gnosis, spelled Gnosis, I mean times when I tap into the wisdom of the universe, this benevolent source of all divine knowledge. I'm not channeling this information. I always ensure it's uncorrupted, as I do find people think they are getting information from a divine, benevolent place, but it's actually corrupted. So we all have to be on the lookout for that. And it goes without saying that anything I say should always be filtered through your own internal wisdom, or discard as you see fit. But one analogy I keep getting is the idea of 3D as like an old website and the 5D Earth as like a staging website. Perhaps you've had a website and then you decide to upgrade it. I created my first website in the late 90s, and the technology has changed so many times that I had to completely redo my website a few times to make it more modern. So instead of taking down your website and waiting for the new one to be built, what web developers do is create a staging site where information is copied and brought over to the new site that you want to keep, but put into the new infrastructure of your new site. Then once it's all tested, debugged, looking and operating how you want, you all of a sudden switch the hosting from the old site to the new site. Now, whenever someone goes to your URL, it goes to the new one and not the old one. That way, there's no downtime during your process of renovating and upgrading your site. So the 3D version of Earth is like the old site, and the new 5D Earth is being built in a staging area, and when the time is ripe, the big switchover will occur. So to people who've been living in the 3D version of Earth, the 5D version will seem so much more real. It's like you've been sitting in a movie theater watching an intense horror, drama, thriller type movie. You've been so engrossed in it, but then it ends and you remember you're just sitting in a movie theater. The hypnosis ends, you get up, and you go outside and it's beautiful and peaceful and all is okay. You remember this much bigger spectrum of colors and these amazing animals and flowers and foods and aromas that the 3D movie never had. It was just a virtual reality. It wasn't the fuller reality like this one. You go to a tree and you pick a piece of fruit and it's like a perfect food. It doesn't have to be cooked. It's just eaten as it is, and everything that the body needs to nourish itself is within it. An example of what it's like in a higher dimensional world is depicted in the novel Helio Tropez. Although in that subterranean city, it's described as 4D or one step closer to 5D from 3D. To understand the differences between 3D, 4D, and 5D, think of the black keys on a piano. They are the sharps and flats. Those in 4D are supporting from inner earth those in 3D to jump up a level, whereas those in 6D will be supporting from inner earth those in 5D to jump up a level, and so on up the scale of ascension. But we have seen pockets of 5D existences in what might be labeled utopian stories or certain societies we've seen or heard about on the earth. It's where people live in close proximity to the land, eat organic foods, are reverent of nature. Nature itself is bountiful and beautiful. The air is clean, the water is clean. People naturally have access to skills that they might only attribute to superheroes in movies, like the ability to fly, X-ray vision, or remote viewing, heightened intuition on all levels of clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, ability to time travel, transfigure your light body into other dimensions and realities, and so on. So I talk about this because I believe that what you focus on grows. If we keep paying attention to the news that describes our future as dystopian, apocalyptic, and filled with pandemics, wars, food shortages, natural disasters, that's what we will get. If you've studied anything about manifestation or the law of attraction, you know that what you focus on grows. Some say that malevolent forces in this world use various forms of collective mind or brain control to get people focused on what they don't want. Through media, social programming to feed that collective mindset of humanity in a dark direction. You can personally counteract that by focusing your attention in a direction that you want to go in. The more of us who do that, the more it grows. It can create the 100th monkey effect, where just a small percentage of the population can shift the collective mindset in a constructive, positive direction. So take the time to imagine a beautiful, bountiful world where everyone has what they need, where there is harmony, creativity, and people are passionate about what they do every day. I believe all that is our natural organic ascension timeline to go in that direction. Some theories even state that we were always meant to be living that way, and a malevolent force, which some refer to as a parasitic artificial intelligence, has taken us off track by manipulating our minds. But the good news is we have the power to take our minds back under our own sovereign control, and at the meta level, this may be what we signed up for anyway, playing this game to build the strength of our minds and hearts by going through this ordeal. So in the end, it's all good. So anyone talking about moving into this golden age, moving to a higher dimensional reality, or how to take back control of your own mind, all those are a good focus of your attention as it helps us move from 3D to 5D. I would highly recommend that you stop focusing on people who are fear-mongering about the future. Sure, if there is legitimately something affecting your everyday life, you need to know about it. But have you ever noticed that a lot of what you hear about on the news never really happens? What you hear about on social media never pans out like they say it will, especially if it's a dark scenario. Now, I believe we will keep the same physical body that we have now. You'll just be healthier, youthified, rejuvenated, and reinstated with your natural skills, abilities, and superstructures. So you can move there without dying or leaving the body. And all the challenges in our lives right now, just think of them as a test to help you graduate from 3D to 5D. It can help give it all perspective. And the idea that you might look back on it all and feel grateful for it. It opens your mind to how it is helping you grow. And once you learn your lesson, that issue tends to dissipate out of your life. It goes away. Just remember that when you think a thought, it does become an energy wave. It becomes a thing with power to manipulate your reality. It starts to build a possibility, and the more energy you give it, the stronger that becomes, and then it manifests and it becomes real. It becomes physical. If you send a thought out that there's going to be peace, and then you follow it with, oh, but it looks like there's going to be war, you weaken the energy. The possibility starts to fade away. So we have to retrain our minds to send out the thoughts and visions of what we want instead of what we don't want, and reinforce over and over again, because this whole world is designed to try to make you think of things you don't want. So you have to be persistent and resilient. That's part of the soul lesson, the game at play. Now, what's much easier to do is to replace a negative thought with a positive one, rather than just try to let a negative one go. So that way you're adding to the structure of the possibility rather than trying to deconstruct something you don't want. If you've ever laid in bed at night and tried to get yourself to not worry, it doesn't really work, right? Think of the opposite of what you don't want. If you're worried you'll get sick, imagine being healthy. If you're worried you will run out of money, imagine you have all the resources you need. It's that simple. So in 3D, you have basically 5 primary senses, but in 5D, you'll have many more than that. You will become automatically telepathic. So some people say the internet is a technological, artificial echo of what we are naturally able to do in 5D, to telepathically have all the information we need. We can telepathically tap into any information source or to any person that is open to communicating with you. But it's done through consciousness technology, not artificial technology like what we use now. So no need for cell phones, email, chat. It's all done through our minds. So the idea is that all the people that are spiritually ready to make this transition will go. Those that are not, who want to continue with a 3D virtual reality world of polarity, struggle, enslavement, scarcity, can do so. It's like some souls are learning a lot and want to keep that learning going. All good. Everyone is on their own journey, so they will stay in that kind of reality, whereas others who want a new game to play can go into other dimensions, realities, timelines, and in particular, a natural progression is to this 5D world that will seem far more real than the 3D world we've been part of. And by the way, you shut down the whole 3D reality all the time when you sleep. You literally hit pause and go explore other realities, then hit play again when you wake up in the morning. Lots of people wonder about the Mayans' prophecy that the calendar as we understand it was supposed to end in 2012. Perhaps people thought that it was the date for the end of the world as we know it. Perhaps that's because the dimension shift began then and has been happening slowly for us over the last 10 years, but very quickly from those in higher dimensions where time moves far more quickly. A famous quote by Nikola Tesla is, if you only knew the significance of 3, 6, and 9, then you would have the secret code to the universe. And if you want to find the secrets of the universe, he also said, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So the ascension to a higher dimension is done by raising the energy, frequency, and vibration of our body. The earth is also rising in energy, frequency, and vibration to go to the new dimension. And there are countless dimensions surrounding us all the time. We cannot see them because as the vibrations speed up, they are invisible to our eyes. Now, what about the souls who are not ready to make the shift to the new earth and still need to work out karma? It is said that those souls will simply reincarnate into another world where they will have the opportunity to do just that. There is no right or wrong because in the end we are all sparks of source seeking to experience all there is to experience, and one day our destiny is to go back to the source of which we came from. But until then, we are taking part in the grand game of experience and growth, so wherever you or others are on the journey is all okay. Many of the changes so far have been at the spiritual, mental, emotional levels, and last is the physical level coming next. What are those physical changes? The body is going to be lighter. Literally, you will be less dense, so your physicality would weigh less. The energy from within you is somehow going to become more visible on the outside, so more glowing with light. And it will make the body seem taller, elongated, slimmer, more transparent. Those people who are ascending are being tested by having greater challenges to see if they can hold the light, being a light unto themselves when all around is dark. If they cave into the darkness and stay there, they won't pass the test. So if the game theory is true and people around you are not moving and evolving, it's because they're choosing that at the soul level, as I said, and they will reincarnate into another place of their choice. And it's all right because it's only a game in the end. So forgive them, forgive yourself, and focus your mind on where you want to go. For example, instead of being upset about living in a world of conflict, agitation, scarcity, illness, injustice, disconnection, just turn it around. Use your imagination, your most powerful superhuman gift. There you are, living in a world of peace, harmony, abundance, health, fairness, justice, connection, having superhuman skills like telepathy, teleportation, lucid dreaming, and more. It magnetizes it to you and to all of us wanting to go there. Allow yourself the pleasure of being there for a few minutes a day. What would that world look like, feel like, sound like, smell like, taste like, and what are you doing? Who are you being? How are you spending your day? Who are you hanging out with? And how are you contributing to the world that feels on purpose and totally engaging to you? The more you take these meditative moments to use your imagination like that, the easier it becomes and the more likely it comes into fruition. We're on the precipice now. It's my understanding that it's like waking up from a dream. The 3D world, the life or lives you've lived, all just a dream, a movie, a game, and now you're back in the real world with your true life. Let's call it back to us now. So the theme of ascension from one reality to another is a big part of the novel Helio Tropez. You can check it out at goldenagetimeline.com/book. It's won 4 book awards, and professional reviewers and regular readers always say, I couldn't put it down. It's a page turner about a woman who discovers her ancestors are from a subterranean city of geneticists known as Helio Tropez. They're from another world and are here to help humanity evolve. If you like fantasy, sci-fi, stories about love, courage, creativity, or thrilling adventure novels, do check it out at goldenagetimeline.com or find it on Amazon, or see the link in the show notes. Also, if you want to discover a process for letting go of karmic bonds that might keep you stuck in 3D, check out the MindStory Inner Coach book on Amazon or at MindStoryAcademy.com, or see the link in the show notes. You'll get to learn about the Avara model for transforming old, stuck, limiting thoughts into new, flowing, empowering thoughts that lead to more empowering results in your life. Now, to hear about more episodes like this, go to goldenagetimeline.com/podcast and sign up on our e-list. That's it for today. I hope it was useful. Do hit like and share as that helps others find it. Until next time, thank you so much for listening.